Hey, before we get started on this, I just want to let you know that the sample code for the next couple videos is called soundfx.lua. If you are not using Outlaw or Corona Project Manager, you'll need to rename that as main.lua. And if you already have a main.lua, you'll have to move that out of the way so that to be able to run this, to be able to run the sample code here. If you are using Outlaw or Corona Project Manager, you can just select this in the list and then go over and open up the right sidebar here and go to Properties, and for the alias, just set the alias to main.lua, and then you can close this up again, and then to be able to run this code, make sure this is selected and make sure the real main.lua is not selected. And then when you hit the launch button here in Outlaw or Corona Project Manager, it will run this as if it's the main.lua. But like I said, if you're using a different IDE or just TextMate or Sublime Text or something like that, just either rename main.lua or move it out of there for now and rename soundfx.lua as main.lua to be able to run this sample code here for the next few videos. In this series of videos, we're going to be talking about how to create sound effects in your game, play music for your background and things like that. The cool thing is that using audio in Corona SDK is actually really simple. So it's going to start out as like, wow, that's easy. And it's going to ramp up a little bit harder. It gets a little more complicated once you get into channels and things like that. But the good news is that it never gets too complicated. It's actually one of the easier subjects in this whole game development course. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm starting out here with just a couple of the things that we normally have. And now we're going to create a sound object. And let me just actually show you right over here in this audio folder. I've got some sounds. We're just going to use Boing. Boing.mp3. Okay, so I'm going to make a jump. Let's see, sound jump. Actually, we'll go ahead and make this a local variable for this. Local is just fine. So sound jump equals, first thing we have to do before we can actually play the audio is we have to load it. And there are two different ways to load an audio file, load sound and load stream. We'll get into load stream later. The main difference between them is for sound effects type sounds like boings and crashes and booms and things like that. Probably load sound is what you want. Load stream is for longer pieces like background music, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and use load sound for this. And first thing it needs is an audio file name. And that's in our audio folder. And it's called boing.mp3. And the base dir, we're actually not going to use that. This is the only thing we need here. And now to actually make this play, all I have to do is audio.play and then pass it in this sound object, the handle to the sound. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this and we'll run this. Alright, and so we got the boing there. Let me just hit the refresh here. Alright, so that works fine. So this is technically all you need to know to be able to play a sound in Corona SDK. Ta-da! Video's over. Now, actually, we'll go a little bit further than that. First thing we're going to do is put this into a function. And the reason that we don't have to do that, but in a little bit we're actually going to be calling a function to play the sound. And why not play it directly? Because we could set a flag for the program to say, has the user turned audio on or off? A lot of times in your game that's an option, turn the music off, turn the sound effects off. You can turn them on or off together or separately sometimes. So by having a function that we go to play, inside that function we can actually check and see, does the user want to hear any sound effects? And by doing it that way, you don't have to check every time you get ready to play a sound. If you've got a game where there's 15 sound effects, you don't want to have to check each time one of those sound effects is supposed to fire. You don't want to have that sprinkle throughout your code, checking to see whether the user has turned sound effects off or not. So you put it in one place and then just jump there and play the audio. So we're just going to call this play audio, and we're not going to pass anything in at this point. So let's make it very simple like that. And let's go ahead and do make a runtime listener. and we'll just look for a tap anywhere on the screen, and when that happens, we'll jump to play audio. Alright, let's go ahead and try that. Okay, it didn't boing this time, but as soon as I click, alright, we get a boing every time we click because the runtime listener is waiting for a tap, or click in this case because of the simulator, and when it gets that, it jumps over to play audio and executes the code inside that function. We'll go into the whole has the user turned off the audio or not later on, but let's just go ahead and play with that for a second. Local is audio on, and we'll say that that is true. Let's hard code it right here for now. And so inside of play audio, we would go if is audio on, then play the audio. So let's go ahead and try this. Okay, it works just like we thought because is audio on is true. But if we set that to false, maybe we have a button in there somewhere that when they click it, we set this variable to off. Let me run this, and I'm clicking all over here and nothing's happening. Okay, so there's just a quick and dirty look at playing audio using audio load sound, and it'll play this. It'll play an MP3 file. It'll also play WAV files. There's a few different formats, and you can look at the audio documentation at Corona Labs to get all the details on that. But if you stick with WAV or MP3 for right now, then you just don't have to worry about it. So let's go ahead and jump from playing little sound effects into playing a longer piece, some kind of background music.